Hello NFL fans and welcome back to the Wall of NFL channel. In this video today, I'm going to be predicting the NFC South Division and how the teams are going to be doing in the upcoming 2021 season. I'm going to be predicting the Buccaneers, the Saints, the Panthers and the Falcons, and which of those teams are going to make the playoffs and which of those teams are going to have dud seasons. Last season, the Falcons finished bottom of the division. They started the year going 0-4 and firing their head coach Dan Quinn. They didn't get much better from there though, going only 4-12 in last season. They managed to get the 4th pick in the draft in the 2021 draft, so maybe this year they'll be doing a lot better with their new tight end Kyle Pitts. Not doing that much better than them is the Carolina Panthers. They managed to finish the season 5-12, and they had brand new quarterback Teddy Bridgewater and head coach Matt Rule, and despite their new and fresh ideas and abilities, they didn't do that great, and they often had to rely on their kicker kicking a 60-plus yard field goal at the end of games to try and win it, but of course that didn't end well for them, and they finished 5-12. The New Orleans Saints finished top of the division last season, but did unfortunately lose to the Buccaneers in the first game of the playoffs last season, and despite having such a great regular season, the postseason Drew Brees wasn't able to shine, and his age really caught up with him. The likes of Tom Brady, though, for the Buccaneers, he was able to make that extra push in the playoffs. And despite not doing quite as well as the Saints during the regular season, the Buccaneers were able to make that push after Thanksgiving and win every game from there and eventually make it to the Super Bowl and win it. The Atlanta Falcons haven't been able to do that much this offseason. They've really struggled with their salary cap and they had to offload quite a few players. They are also looking to offload Julio Jones in the next couple of weeks via a trade, and this could really impact their offense. He's been one of the best receivers in the league now for the last decade, and it's going to be really interesting to see whether the offense will really change now that he's gone. I think it will, and despite having new head coach Arthur Smith, I do think it will suffer a little bit, despite him, Arthur Smith, bringing a brand new lease of life, along with Kyle Pitts, to the new Atlanta Falcons offense. The new defensive coordinator, Dean Pease, should be able to help that defense that's really struggled since Dan Quinn was at head coach. And they should be able to do a bit better this season, and because it's going to be difficult for them to do much worse than they did in previous seasons. I think they have quite a low floor, and it's really shown the last few years. They need to get a few better personnel options on defense, but maybe schematically they'll be a lot better and might pose a bit more of a threat to the other teams in the division this season. I do think though they'll only finish about 6-11, possibly more. They could have a bounce back season, but I really think they'll struggle based on the fact that their defense really hasn't improved, and the salary cap issue meant that they don't have much of a change on offense. They still haven't been able to sign their rookies because of the salary cap issue. That's why I think Julio Jones is pretty much certain to go over the next couple of weeks. So we'll see how they do in this upcoming season, but I think it might be another bottom of the division case for them. I think the Carolina Panthers are going to be a really interesting team this upcoming season. I think with head coach Matt Rule, who's going into his 2nd year on the job, is really going to get used to the NFL after coming from college, and now with new quarterback Sam Darnold, he's got a really good opportunity to kind of show what his coaching style and his offense can really do in the NFL. I think Sam Darnold, now coming from the Jets, we finally get to see how good he can really be. He's had no defense, no offensive line, no running game, no weapons, not any good coaching either. So it's going to be really interesting to see whether he could be the real deal or not, seeing as the last 3 seasons, we can pretty much wipe off how good he was, as the Jets just stunk. He was the one bright spark for the Jets, though, in those 1 or 2 games where he was good. I think with Christian McCaffrey coming back off of injury as well, and the defense really starting to improve, despite Luke Kuechly retiring last season, leaving that big void at linebacker position, the defense, going to get a lot better. And finally, Sam Darnold is going to have some competent people around him. So I'm really looking forward to seeing, especially Sam Darnold, how he's going to do. I think, again, similar to last season, but maybe with some improvement, I think they will finish around 7-10 and won't quite push for those playoff spots or that positive record. But I do think, yeah, they're going to be a really interesting team to watch. I think that because Sam Darnold hasn't quite had what he has now around him, I think Sam Darnold might take this year to really start pushing to be a fantastic quarterback. But I do think he has it inside of him to have that talent to be a starting quarterback. I just think it might take another year just to really pull that out of him. And it might take another year for Matt Rule as well to really have that kind of impact in the NFL. The weapons now at the Carolina Panthers should really suit Sam Darnold as well, as Robbie Anderson previously was a Jet before he managed to get out a bit earlier than Sam Darnold. But yeah, I think the Panthers are going to be a really interesting team to watch and about a 7-10 finish for me. But I would not be surprised if they ended up going maybe even up to 9-8 and challenging for, the 7th or 6th wildcard spot. The Buccaneers this offseason had the kind of offseason that every fan wishes their Super Bowl winning team has. They managed to keep all 22 starters on offense and defense that played for them last season, and they managed to keep all of their coaches, well, the top-notch coaches such as their head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and this is clearly going to be a recipe for success. They didn't do what the Eagles did and try and refresh the team, because the Eagles, after they won the Super Bowl, well, they went really downhill. And you can see in my previous video about the NFC East, I don't think they're going to be doing very well this season. But anyway, the Buccaneers, I think they are going to win about 14 games. They do have the greatest quarterback of all time and, of course, an amazing roster. They have fantastic players all across the board, and just pairing that with Tom Brady is an easy win for the Buccaneers. I think they're definitely going to get the number 1 seed in the NFC this season, and I don't really think there's going to be any challenges to that. Maybe potentially the Rams if they hit on all cylinders, but I think the only thing holding back the Buccaneers, aside from maybe the Chiefs in the playoffs, would be their concentration issues and potentially the volatile nature of Bruce Arians as head coach. Most quarterbacks who work with Bruce Arians have their career high interceptions the season that he is their head coach, which has happened with Tom Brady, Jameis Winston, Ben Roethlisberger, Andrew Luck, and so on. And it just goes to show that I don't think they'll win every game this season. The Saints definitely have their number so far in the regular season, so maybe that'll continue. But yeah, I think 14-3 is about where they'll finish, and with the number 1 seed. I think they're primed to go to another Super Bowl, and I know that all Buccaneers fans are hoping they do that again. Now onto my favourite team, the New Orleans Saints. Unfortunately, this offseason, we had to say goodbye to our greatest player of all time, Drew Brees. And this means that Sean Payton, our head coach, now has to pick between Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. They were both on the team last year when Drew Brees got injured, but Sean Payton chose to go with Taysom Hill, and we won 3 games out of the 4 that he was the starter for. It was an interesting decision, and Sean said prior to the season that if Drew Brees goes down injured, Jameis Winston will take over during the game as a more direct replacement, but with a week to prepare, Taysom Hill is going to be the guy that they choose. Taysom Hill is really just a football player rather than a quarterback, I see it as. He's a fantastic runner and his athletic ability is off the charts. He's similar to Tim Tebow, but maybe a bit more athletic, and we'll see how he is in comparison to him with the throwing. I think Jameis Winston is a lot more your typical quarterback who will sit in the pocket and has a pretty good arm at that. I think, though, it's going to be a really interesting decision, and Sean Payton's going to be pulling his hair out surely about who he's going to choose. The guy who took him to 3 wins out of 4 last season, or the guy who is just straight up a better thrower of the ball. Jameis Winston, in the previous season before he joined the Saints last year, played for the Buccaneers, the Saints' rivals, and whilst he did have a 5,000 plus yard season, he did throw 30 interceptions as well, which prompted the Buccaneers to go and get Tom Brady. I think it's going to be a really interesting decision, and I think most fans are hoping for Jameis Winston, as we kind of see him as the guy who's going to be able to get us a few more wins this season, but Taysom Hill, I would not be surprised at all if he was the quarterback. I think Sean Payton loves him and has previously compared him to Steve Young, the ex-49ers quarterback who's now in the Hall of Fame, which is quite high praise, but I think the fact that Sean Payton loves him so much really doesn't take him out of the question as who he chooses at quarterback. The Saints still have a fantastic defense and good weapons and a good interior offensive line as well. I think the only spot that they really need to get sorted at the moment is their secondary cornerback on the defense, but we'll see how they do this season, and I do think that their second round pick in the draft will slide into that position at cornerback nicely. I think that it's going to be a really interesting year, as I said, for the Saints, and we'll wait and see how they do. I certainly hope that they have a fantastic season and make it to the playoffs. Who dat? So thank you guys so much for watching my NFC South predictions. We have one more predictions video coming up later in the next few days on the NFC West division, the best division in the league. So stay tuned for that one. Also, in the meantime, check out our website, wallofnfl.com, and all the social media pages linked in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and please do comment down below on how you think the NFC South is going to do. I'm really interested in to see how you guys think the Saints, the Buccaneers, the Falcons, and the Panthers are going to do next season. So thank you guys for watching. See you later.